You can't get a job because you don't have experience, but how do you get experience to get a job? You already know that you need to be coding every single day, and a lot of people flock to the online courses, and they do teach you. They're really great resources. There are many resources out there, almost too many to choose from. So I'm not going to say don't incorporate those. Instead, I think you should do that along with some of the other strategies that I'm about to tell you. There are other ways beyond just following along with somebody on the other side of the computer telling you exactly what you need to be doing, which is a little bit ironic because I am someone on the other side of the computer who is currently telling you what you should be doing. One of the best things that you can do to grab somebody's attention who's looking at your resume is include passion projects that you're working on. If you have a project that maybe has solved a problem that you had and you're trying to fix that problem with software, you're going to be excited when you talk about it. You're going to be showing the enthusiasm that you have for learning how to code. That is a good thing. You want people to see that you have a fire inside of you and that you're really excited about learning this stuff, because as you've probably noticed, it's not always easy to learn. You have to be tenacious. You have to keep going at it and stick through the problems that show up from day to day. Maybe you don't have the project already, but maybe you can sit down and brainstorm. Think, is there some problem in your life that you might be able to solve with code? Is there a problem in the life of somebody else that you know? Maybe you can solve that problem for them. Maybe you can't think of any problems in general, but ask people. Ask your friends, ask your family. Maybe somebody has an app idea that they always thought would be cool to have in existence. Maybe they would be able to give you that idea for you to work on. If none of that sounds good, you can still do some really cool things, mashing up APIs. Do a Google search, see what APIs exist out there. There are some really cool things that are already in existence, and you can just take what exists and package it in your own way. If all of this still feels like a stretch, you can still go to the tutorials. I say all the time, I love JavaScript 30 from Wes Bos. Go through those tutorials. At some point, if you stop and reflect, you might be able to go back and actually use some of the tutorials to mash up your own new app that he didn't teach you how to do. That shows creativity, that shows you know how to use all of the methods that you've been following along with. That should be your end goal by going through those tutorials. Whatever you're doing when you're making these projects, make sure that you're pushing things up to GitHub. Make those little green squares show up. As many as you can. People at some point in the hiring process assume that they're going to be looking at your GitHub, either the recruiter or the hiring manager or potentially teammates. Make sure that you have things on GitHub so that you can show that you have been working. Number 2, hackathons. So maybe you still can't think of some passion project to start. If you can be part of a hackathon, you might find somebody else's passion project that you can help turn into a reality. Hackathons are events that last between like 24 and 48 hours, and you'll split off into groups, maybe 4 to 6 people, and work on a project for that time. A lot of people don't even sleep throughout a hackathon. There are prizes at the end that can be claimed. There's such a buzz of energy. Everyone is trying to work towards their common goal on their team. It's hard to lose focus in that time. So you're going to be spending a lot of hours in a row digging into this problem, and it's awesome motivation to get a project finished. A lot of hackathons, you have to show up, you're going to meet all of these like-minded people, and you're going to work towards a common goal. So I don't know if you realize what I just described, but that's networking, and networking is huge in the job search. 2 birds with 1 stone. You're going to be working on your code skills, but you're also going to be networking at the same time. So this is why hackathons are a great strategy to be included when you're trying to make your background stand out, even without having a job experience to put on your resume. So the benefits don't end there. You're going to be practicing going through breaking down a problem. You'll practice the whole process from wireframing and designing your database. You'll learn how to make sure you're breaking tickets into vertical slices, which is a kind of hard skill to learn at first. Right now during quarantine, I don't know of many hackathons that are happening in person, but I do know of a couple virtual hackathons that I was able to dig up some details on. I'm going to put the information down below in the description of this video, so go take a look down there. Number 3 is honestly my favorite. Contribute to open source software. Open source software is so good for the development community in general. It helps the people who have opened up the open source software get their project done faster. It's cheaper than them hiring out employees. It helps the people who are working on the open source software improve their skills, and it's also exposure to the different types of thinking that other people are using, other patterns that they're using in other projects. A lot of people get really stressed out thinking, I don't know how I'm going to be helpful contributing to open source software. I'm just a junior developer. And there's a place for junior developers too. A lot of open source have taken the time to break down their issues, and they will tag issues as this one is a good problem for a beginner to work on. This problem is actually just an update in the documentation. That's a great place for new developers to start. Even if you just start by looking at pull requests and asking questions, people will appreciate that you're trying to get involved, you're trying to wrap your head around this new big source code that you haven't contributed to yet. That kind of leads me on to my next point of why open source software is so good for junior developers and for any developer to jump into. If you don't have the experience working as a software engineer somewhere, if you don't have that job experience, you don't have the experience of jumping into a project, looking at the code that isn't yours, trying to identify maybe what's causing a bug. Open source software provides all of that. As you contribute in a PR, it is a great place for other more experienced developers to offer their feedback on your work. That is how I've learned the most over the years. I have done my work and submitted a PR and then gotten more suggestions. And people have asked me questions on, why did you make this choice? Working with people who have more experience than you is going to make you the better developer, and it's going to give you the experience that you really would be getting if you were on the job. Additionally, it's pretty helpful to be starting in open source software because the people who know what they're doing are writing code in a way that's easy for other people to understand. They're not going to be clever with the code that they put into open source as much as they might be when they're working on a project internally in a company. So I'm going to be linking below another resource for open source software with a bunch of different articles on how to go about contributing to open source software. It's got a bunch of tags that you should be looking for when you're trying to find a project to contribute to for the first time. There is going to be a bit of a learning curve, so I'm going to do another video talking more about how to do open source software, how to contribute for the first time, because I understand there's a lot. There's a lot to consider. So those are my tips for today. I really think that if you're able to follow through consistently and do just one of those 3 things every day, you're going to be ahead of the competition. So let me know in the comment section below what questions went unanswered. Let me know if you already have been doing any of these things. Let me know if you're contributing to open source software. I want to know what projects you're working on. But that's all for today. Thanks for watching the video, and stay safe out there.